Do you have a math equation, for lack of a better word, for fulfillment?
How would that be? A plus B
Yeah,
times
kind
Y.
of. So here, I think that, so I agree with you so violently, I want to bite through the table.
Go
And
ahead.
so might not be the best use of my teeth. So I have a rough formula of what I think leads to fulfillment. And I think about this a lot, so I'm always looking for somebody that can help me refine. But I think it goes like this. It has to be hard. And there's reasons for this from an evolutionary standpoint, but it has to be hard. It has to be something that you get more energy from than it takes. So it's something that you inherently enjoy. And it has to be something that allows you to transform your potential into skill set. And that skill set has to be something that serves you and the group. If you do all of that, you will be fulfilled. If any one of those pieces are missing, it's really hard, it's something you love, you're improving your skill set, but it only serves you, you won't be fulfilled. If all of it, but it only serves the group and not you, you won't be fulfilled. It seems to me that it has to have all of those elements.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are people, unfortunately, who get that fulfillment without the group part.
Do you? Do you think they're actually fulfilled?
Yeah, I mean, if you like artists who do some kind of great art, but they're not necessarily the best people in the world, you
Oh, it
know.
might be a total dick, but if there are, which I think is its own punishment, P.S., but they may find fulfillment in their art if they get feedback from the group is moved, it's sublime, and so their art creates the desired feeling in that person. They have contributed to the group, in my estimation. But if that same artist made art and nobody gave a shit about it, I don't think they would feel fulfilled.
Well, I don't want to split hairs with you because you're largely correct, but I can't think of examples of people who were ignored in their lifetime. And it was painful, but they knew they were right. They knew they had created something brilliant. They knew they had created some invention, and it was ignored, and nobody cared, and nobody liked them. And
Think
it was
about
painful.
Tesla, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah, he was pretty miserable.
Yeah. So despite doing
But
all this incredible shit, being out of step with your time is rough. You are the shout and the echo. So
yeah,
even though when Einstein was asked, what's it like to be the most brilliant man alive? He said, I don't know, you'll have to ask Nikola Tesla. Despite that, Tesla died very unhappy by all accounts. I obviously did not know him, certainly alone and broke. And so there was something was missing. He could never get, I am definitely psychoanalyzing somebody I have no right to, but I have a gut instinct that because he could not figure out the echo part of doing something in a way where people reflected back that, yes, this is amazingly valuable, that even though now we all reap the benefits, was very little consolation.
I know I can't think of it because my mind is slowing down, but I was talking recently with my wife about artists and composers, etc., who had no success in life. She's going, really? I said, yeah. Never sold any books. Their music was ignored. But my research of them, they had, just in the work itself, in the absorption of the mind in composing this brilliant thing or in writing this thing, they had that flow. Yes, so the pain is definitely there. I'm not arguing against you because I said,
oh, you might be right. I mean, I'm utterly fascinated.
Splitting hairs, but the thing is the sense of flow, because what happens is what makes you miserable is your self-absorption in many ways, right? The worst form of therapy is to sit there and talk about your problems. The best form of therapy is to get outside of yourself.
Brother, people are going to be like, the record just skipped for a lot of people. Go back. The worst form of therapy is talk therapy? What?
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe not the worst, but it's not, to me, the most productive therapy to just talk about your problems.
Really? Why?
Because it's like accentuating your self-absorption, right? Whereas what you need is to get outside of yourself, not into all of your problems. Now, of course, I'm contradicting myself because I talked about introspection. That's a different thing. We're not introspecting about my problems, what my parents did to me, more and more, oh, I'm so miserable, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure there are forms of talking therapy that are good, so I shouldn't generalize that. But what I think...
I don't know, something feels intuitively right about this.
Yeah, well, I just wrote, sorry, I keep doing that, about this man. People won't have heard of him. He's a Russian mystic, whatever you want to call him, Gurdjieff, who had these
I've
exercises.
heard the name, but I don't know.
And one thing he taught his students was to not vent your unpleasant emotions. So he had this exercise called self-observation, where you're to go observe yourself like you did in the most deepest way, not just your thoughts, but about your body and how your body and your mind interact in this insane continual blend. There's no separation. So one kind of thought will affect your body, but a feeling in your gut will affect your thinking. You're all this, observe yourself, observe yourself, observe yourself. And he said, you will discover in observing yourself that most of your thoughts revolve around unpleasant emotions. It's a very bad thing to realize, but it's true. I use the number 95%, but as I said, I'm pulling it out of you-know-what again. Okay, so most of it is dealing with frustration, resentment, anger, bitterness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? And he said, look at those emotions, see them, do not judge them, do not say they're bad or good or whatever, and don't ever talk about them. Don't vent them to people. You can look at them, but don't talk about them. And the people who experience it go, whoa, by not talking about them, they start to go away. I didn't really feel them because I never expressed them. So expressing them was kind of what makes them stronger and more embedded inside of you.
I feel like we're doing that culturally right now.
Yes, most definitely. I mean, look, what is the crux of the problem in people today, if I had to summarize it? And I don't mean people, I include myself in them, us, because I'm a human being as well, as far as I know.
I've heard, yeah.
It's that we're self-absorbed, right? I think that's the root cause of so many of our issues, right? Because we're creatures that are actually built for empathy, for actually putting our minds into other things, into people, into animals, into solving problems, into our work. That's who we are. And we've turned that around where all of that voracious brain energy that we have, as I said, I just wrote a chapter on the brain, and it's this insanely powerful instrument that is so complex. People say it's the most complex piece of matter in the universe, right? It's so powerful. And when you turn inward, it just eats us alive inside. It's like a bacteria eating us from within, as opposed to exteriorizing it into work, into creating things, into building things, into empathy, into working with other people. And if we're getting all ranty and outraged about justice, et cetera, what you really need to do is to get outside of that and out and helping other people, genuinely helping them, right? If your cause is, and it's my cause as well, is the environment, which I believe a lot, and it's where my charity goes to, then ranting and complaining online and making people feel bad is useless. Go out and start a movement, create something, do something. You'll feel so much better about yourself and you'll be contributing it. But what we don't need is more of that self-absorption. It's like a centripetal force that's drawing us further and further and further in. My problems, my parents, my education, my brother and sister, my wife, more and more inward, more problems. It gets deeper, deeper, more irracinated inside of ourselves, right? You want to get out of yourself, right? And put it into your work. So, you know, let's say you're an artist, right? I have great respect for artists. I kind of wished I had been an artist. I'm a failed artist.
This is a guy who's written incredible best-selling books. I've walked through bookstores and watched them bring in stacks of books that you wrote decades ago.
Yeah, but I wanted to be a novelist, you know.
So fascinating. Yeah. It is so weird to me that you can sell at your level and still be like, oh, but I wanted to be this. I'm the same, which is why I have such a response to that, because I am not good at the things that I wanted to be good at. Yeah. And the things that I am good at that other people envy me for, I'm like that's not very interesting.
What is it that you wanted to be?
That list is very long. If I could snap my fingers, I would be Elon Musk. That is like my fantasy of fantasies.
Well, you have plenty of time. You're young.
Yeah, we'll see.
For it, dude.
I'm 46. What's he like, 47, 48? Like, he's barely older than me.
He's over 50 now.
51, 52? I mean, he's like, certainly within striking distance. And look, I am honest enough with myself, know thyself, as Robert Greene would say. that my brain doesn't process data the way that his does. Now, he warns people like me not to want to be like him, because he says having the intrusive thoughts that he has around engineering and problem solving, he said it's like having this thing turned on that you can't turn off,
I
and you
didn't
wish
know
you
that.
could.
That's interesting.
But I would pay that price. So before we started rolling, you and I were talking. I am very enamored with what you've created and put into the world, and you still fill a niche that so few people are able to fill. I think it's utterly fascinating. I said once in our earlier interview that when I read your books, I can hear wolves howling in the background. But in real life, you're so lovely and kind and considerate. So most people that write dark books are fucking dark, and they don't even realize they're writing a dark book. But like, your stuff really deals with an underbelly of the human condition, but yet you're this lovely person. Anyway, what you've put in the world I think is absolutely incredible. And so I totally understand the impetus to be good at one thing, to wish you were good at something else, but it is a very fascinating part of the human psyche.
Well, probably if I had been a novelist, I would, and I was at this age and I was successful at saying, I really wanted to write nonfiction books.
Correct.
The grass is always greener, so who am I to say?
If you like that clip, check out another powerful clip right here, and I'll see you there.